public hearing here tonight, and then we'll start the regular Plan Commission meeting. Jane, you want to start with a roll call? We have it at number 1, so.
Joe Osterman.
Here.
Becky Flotecker.
Here.
Ed Nelson.
Here.
Mark Meyer.
Here.
Jane Stadler. Here. Brian Oliphant.
Here.
Chad Szymanski.
Here.
Dan Lindstrom.
Here.
Dan Green.
Here.
And Kevin Clark.
Here.
Thank you, Jane. So we're going to open this public hearing at 6:31 p.m. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Lisbon Plan Commission at the Lisbon Town Hall, West 234 North 8676 Woodside Road, Lisbon, Wisconsin, 53089, to solicit public comments on the conditional use permit for a major grading permit for Richard Pica for the property located at West 235 and 9544 Mount Vernon Drive, Colgate, Wisconsin, 53017, tax key LSBT 0150.010. All right. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on this public hearing tonight? Anyone for this public hearing? All right. I'm getting everybody shaking their heads. We'll close the public hearing at 6:32 then. And we'll open up the Plan Commission meeting at the Lisbon Town Hall. We've already done roll call. Item 2 is comments from citizens present pertaining to any items on the agenda tonight. Is there anyone who wishes to make any comments? All right. Item 3 is discussion and necessary action on the April 11th, 2019 Plan Commission public hearing and meeting minutes. We have the meeting minutes. Any questions, comments? Is anyone ready to make a motion on the minutes?
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes from April 11, 2019, the Plan Commission public hearing and minute meeting.
All right, motion by Becky to approve. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Second by Ed Nelson. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right, item 4, new business. A, discussion and necessary action on the request from Metropolitan Builders Association on behalf of MLG Capital and Twin Pines, LLC, for a temporary plan of operation for the Twin Pine Farms Parade of Homes event from August 9th, 2019 through September 2nd, 2019. All right. Is anyone here if you want to come on up? How you doing? Good, thanks. Dan, you want to?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the screen, which is attempting to come up here, is I have the map. But overall, this is a request for temporary operation plan for the Twin Pine Farms Parade of Homes that is planned for August through September. This is not new to the town. I think it's happened at least 2 other times, once in the recent future, but one several years before that, actually in this kind of similar area. On the map, you kind of see, we'll see if it comes up here. On the map, when it does come up, you'll see the general site photo, but then also kind of the plan of operation photo that is being proposed. I can go into a little bit more in detail, but just kind of the important point to note that we're looking from a August 9th to early September showcase of homes, primarily for the four lots that are in your packet. And I have those builders listed as what lots those would be as well. The applicant has listed hours of operations, weekdays from 4 to 8, weekends and Labor Day from 8 to 5. Important points to note on that one is the applicant has stated that there will be kind of some staffing security, some site security, authorized locations or dedicated locations for pedestrians, and those are all things that we would ask for at this time as well. So I do have a list of kind of conditions in there, but before I get to those, the applicant also did list a signage plan inside of their operation that you saw. The reason why that one wasn't reviewed, because there's a lot of things that aren't included or that are requested on there that aren't specifically stated in our sign code, and so it's something that we can't review. So I need the Plan Commission to have a discussion about kind of advertising signage for that temporary use outside of what would typically be the typical code. So I have that up there. We can touch base more on that with the applicant. But the other issues to talk about are potential concession usage and then just general noise and potential traffic. So I'll have those general discussion points as well. Because right now, just code doesn't truly kind of dictate, it doesn't plan for a parade of homes. You know, zoning codes can't call for everything, and so we try to do the best that we can to do with the review. So I did list, if you do wish to kind of move forward with some of the, or with the request, I do have some sample conditions that would be typically listed, and these pretty much match directly with what the applicant said they would be doing inside of their plan. The applicant shall comply with the site plan of operations as listed and presented. Fire chief shall inspect the temporary site plan of operations and ensure compliance with any respective fire codes, access, and those types of things, making sure that there is ins and outs that are made available. Barricades to clearly identify pathways for safety of visitors, and that is something that, again, the applicant has expressed. No outdoor storage of materials. That's the standard one that we would do regardless of temporary or permanent. Waste receptacles and sanitary receptacles to be emptied and clean at the end of the night, and that's, again, for purposes of animals. So making sure that those are taken care of, and the applicant has stated such. Comply with all road kind of maintenance and parking concerns approved by the application packet. Important point to note on this one, I think the town should reserve the right to check for site compliance. Obviously, we are in a situation when we have rains and where we have some of those more opportunities to have some ruts in some areas. And the applicant has stated that they would express in those situations that there would be an opportunity to do on-street parking at that time. Temporary basis, just so they're not impacting the existing lots that are there, and that's something that I think would be pretty acceptable to that. The applicant is also going through the developer's agreement phase right now for that final lift of asphalt, so making sure that that is in place prior to that parade of homes event starting. And then kind of going along the lines of more of the operation, site plan, staff and personnel shall be clearly identified by uniform. They've expressed that in their packet. Secure those parade of secure their homes and cleaning at the end of each night. I think that one's a pretty obvious one. They've expressed that as well. An event manager, a parade site manager shall be on site at all times, or their replacement designee replacement with an emergency phone just in case, which is they've expressed. And shall maintain that phone to address any concerns by the town, so town engineer, town planner, anybody else who may make that concern. And then also kind of going along the lines of the standard one, security shall kind of be adhered to outline whatever else is in this packet to make sure that if we deviate from that packet, we have the opportunity to come back and review that. But it is a 3-week operation. There's a lot of questions I'm sure you may have, and that's why the applicant is here tonight to kind of go through those. So I can answer any questions to any of those recommendations or any operational questions.
Do you have anything you want to add before we put it to the board? No? Questions from the board? Brian?
I don't really have any questions, but I guess one of the things I was going to state is paving is going to be done. Our engineer would probably check the ditches because they've been sitting there for quite some time. And so that would be my biggest concern. Some of the culverts aren't in because of that, and I get that. But I just want to make sure that we don't forget something, because once the parade of homes is done, the streets are going to be done, and now additional lots are going to be sold, and we don't want to cause any problems. So that's really the only thing my biggest concern. And if it's run like it was the last one, and I think it was 2014, it was run very clean.
All right. Becky?
I don't have any questions.
Jane?
I haven't got any questions.
Mark?
No, it's no questions, just a couple of comments, and realizing that you guys want it to look nice and be successful is just as much as we do. Mm-hmm. But the parking on the street, I don't know if you want to have that posted one side right from the get-go instead of waiting for rain or something. I mean, I'm only worried that you can get a fire engine or an ambulance or whatever in there, and emptying the garbage cans at the end of the day is great, but if you do fundraising and there's other people around and you're selling food or whatever, if they need to be emptied more often, just because it says end of the day, we wouldn't want you to wait for that.
Just one comment about the concession side of things. Historically, it's not a selling hot dogs and anything that gets crazy. We don't want that carried into the homes and dropped in. That's an incredible mess. Historically, it's been Cub Scout troops using it as a fundraiser, selling bottles of water, maybe some goldfish or something like that. That's about as far as it goes.
Yeah.
So we try very hard not to make it something that's going to distinct or turn into something like that either.
I'm sure it'll be fine. That's just an observation.
Chad?
I've attended a couple Parade of Homes, and you guys do a good job, kind of like Mark said, you guys want it to look nice and everything, so I don't have any concerns.
Ed?
I've also attended at least once or twice, and obviously it was very professionally done. In terms of the signage, I met, as per the last time I was there, which was 5 years ago perhaps, I don't remember honestly. Signage is obviously very informative, professional, etc., but once the Parade of Homes was done, signage was gone. You're in an area of Twin Pines that is obviously just being developed. Obviously, if our weather keeps up its pattern, I imagine, as other commission members have mentioned, you will need street parking because it would be pretty a muddy morass, as they might say. Other than that, I'm not worried about. Obviously, there's no food usually, because as you stated, sir, builders don't want people bringing that into the homes. At this point, no other concerns or questions.
All right. You guys did a great job last time.
I just have one question. On the barricades, it says the appropriate department will be contacted to procure barricades. Are you talking about the town department?
Yes.
Okay, just so the Plan Commission's aware, they're asking the town to procure the barricades. I don't know if you guys did that in 2014, if that's an issue.
How many barricades are you going to need?
Yeah.
I don't think
We might not need any at all.
Okay, because we don't have a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And historically, too, I mean, we do have cones and then some of the kind of the pipe barricades and things that go between the posts. Most of those are meant to be temporary. We put them out and take them down at the beginning and the end of the night, just to make sure that, again, with traffic and keeping people. We've had some issues in the past where municipalities have come in and said, well, we want to use ours, we want to do a thing with something. That would be the only case. But we typically would not need them. It would just be if it was something that, if you said, we want you to use something of ours, we would be obviously more than happy to do that.
There was only one barricade that was listed on the site plan, and that was on the very north end, to kind of block it to go for people going into the neighborhood. But the other points that we saw was any of the directional flaggings would be done by stakes and stuff like that. So the barricade would only be that one that we saw on the site plan.
Yeah, and the developer has plans.
Yep. So we didn't have any concerns about that.
All right. Well, what else do we got to go over then?
I would say the off-site signage is the greater issue that I think you probably have to have a discussion point on, is because of the zoning code or the sign code didn't anticipate these types of signage, and so that's not something I can review. So it needs to be a kind of a discussion point between the Plan Commission and the applicant at that time.
So right now, I think our official policy is it can't be in the road right away.
Yep.
I mean,
So they have requested temporary no parking signs in the subdivision or on the roads leading into the subdivision, but as we talked about, that maybe you may not want to consider that, and you may actually want to use the road if it's a full base course complete, and you're presuming the lots more so. But the other ones that are off-site are going to be permission to install directional signage to the entrance, along with the areas of the parade entrance, and so that one's pretty much internal to the Parade of Homes. But the 4x8 directional signs along the major highway access points leading to that subdivision, so you're thinking about how to get off the 164 and stuff like that, they're asking for kind of the 4x8 directional pieces, which aren't in our code anywhere as off-site signage.
If it's on 164 in state right away, there's nothing, like about that one anyway.
Yep.
Not our jurisdiction. So county and state roads, obviously, I can't give you nor deny you permission. And our roads, how's the Planning Commission feel?
Them are temporary signs generally built on a frame held down by sandbags or something, or?
They're just on metal stakes.
Are they like a banner type, or are they are more wood or plastic?
They're
Poster
like
board, so to speak.
Plastic, okay.
And I mean, the typical green yardstick that you think of, just get placed and just strips kind of between. And they go up about maybe a week prior to the event to make sure people start seeing them, and then as soon as the event's over, they go down.
Okay, so they will be down by the time.
We
It's
finish
over.
on Labor Day Monday.
Yep.
And that Tuesday, Wednesday, the crew that put them out goes back out and pulls them back off again.
And they
Okay.
did last time.
Yeah, and
Okay.
based on the last Parade of Homes they had in Twin Pines, that was done. And the signs were gone almost immediately after the parade was done.
So no 4-foot by 8-foot signs, or?
That one's listed, it was said on major highway access points, so I would say that's probably not up to us to kind of have that point. It can actually be a conversation with DOT on their side.
Most of the ones that will be specifically around the development are gonna be something maybe in that, maybe 36-inch by 24. Two stakes that come out of them, they're not just that typical thin wire that you think of, a little heavier duty, just so that they can take some abuse
Take
of
the wind.
Sure.
And those are ones that basically staff goes out in place of those. It's an arrow that just is put on that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically nothing different than people are putting up on a weekly basis anyway.
Yeah.
I know. Got
For rummage sales.
Walensky's putting up all kinds of signs.
Yeah,
that-
they're,
Yep.
if that part of our code was enforced, we'd have a whole bunch of signs at our DPW.
We could therefore make,
Yeah, that's one of those complaint-driven ones.
Yeah.
I mean, obvious, no putting anything that's gonna, strict line of sight roadways. I mean, this is all common sense stuff. I don't think we really gotta go through and list it all, I guess, but.
So is the Plan Commission okay with the public right-of-way then at that point, from that standpoint?
Brian?
Or should they secure private property pieces?
I'm fine with it. I have no issues.
Becky?
I'm fine with it.
Jane?
Yeah, no problem.
Fine with me.
I'm okay as long as they're taken down within 1 week period after it's done.
Yeah.
Good.
no problem.
I would add that as a condition of.
Condition of approval.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, I don't, still not used to using the mics.
Right?
So sorry, Dan, if you can't hear me in your minutes.
That's all right. All right.
Brian, when you're talking about the culverts, are we talking about the culverts going in, that are underneath the driveway entrances, or the culverts that, because I have actually, that area of Twin Pines has just been developed. I mean, it's sat there for years, decades, not developed. Are these culverts that run underneath the roadbed itself,
No, I should have been more specific. It's under the driveway.
under the driveways?
Yeah, the ditches are all cut in and everything, and all the culverts from the town are put in place.
Okay.
But they haven't been checked. I don't know if they've eroded. And I'm sure that's something that the DPW is going to take care of. He's going to probably look at it. You're going to go through proof rolling process with the engineer. But I just wanted to make it known that it's something that's relatively important. I'm sure it's going to get taken care of.
Sure. Understood.
Because you wouldn't be able to pave it without their permission anyway, and that's one of the things they're going to check. So just a redundancy on my part, I guess.
Well, the roads in that area of the subdivision have been paved, I'm assuming. I haven't driven in there, so I have no idea.
The roads are paved up until the beginning of Phase 2B, I think it is. So from that point on, it's a gravel road, and it has been. And then I think someone, maybe it was even you guys, put another layer of gravel on prior to winter.
The developer.
Oh, the developer did? Okay, and then the
Okay.
developer, he plowed it as well.
If you look on there right at that 105, 106, kind of delineation right in there is where that transition
Yeah.
is currently.
Okay.
So up into into where the prairie site would be is still gravel. But as soon as we can get a little bit of a dryness out
A
there.
break.
I know they're planning getting that first course down of asphalt and do the final lip ready for the parade.
Okay.
The last comment that I did have, as you notice on your site plan, if you guys have the big packet there, is there was some backup additional parking that would still be, it's owned by, I believe, the applicant at that time. It was technically what would be considered Phase 3 of Twin Pine Farms. It just hasn't been submitted yet, way down in that southern portion.
Yeah.
As long as the Plan Commission is comfortable having that as a backup parking, I just want to make sure that was addressed as well. Because it is in between two kind of homes, I guess you would say, two property owners.
Yeah.
You guys have.
Thanks.
I'd rather have it there than out on Lake 5 Road.
Oh, well, that would not fly.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
Have you had any discussion with the property owners that are next to that parking
I know the
area?
developer has, and we truly do not believe that we are going to have to use that
Okay.
area for parking. The lots up here that we have designated are well established and we think can tolerate adverse weather. So, and due to the fact that we have, a smaller number of homes at this site, the traffic will be in and out quicker. So, yeah.
But it would make a great golf cart ride. No.
Right. As long as there's, we just don't want to have complaints coming right away,
Yep.
right off the bat, so no surprises there, please. And then you'd be, obviously you'd be using golf carts then, if you were down there.
Yeah.
I mean, how do we address that? Because technically this is, the last time it was closed off, you can't close this portion off because there's homes. And that's, I guess that's something we'd have to address.
I don't think the town's code traffic section has any differentiation between the two, and that's something we have to dig into a little bit more. I don't know off the top of my head.
All right. In case that may happen, we may have to look into that. Just, I mean, like I said, last time, there wasn't anyone really living there, so it wasn't
Yes.
a big deal.
Yeah.
But now, you're going to be going across an established subdivision, so, okay.
And I wasn't being serious.
All right. All right, anything else?
Yeah.
Anything else from the board?
No.
Is anyone ready to make a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the request of the Metropolitan Builders Association on behalf of MLG Capital and Twin Pines LLC for a temporary plan of operation for the Twin Pine Farms Parade of Homes event from August 9th, 2019 through September 2nd, 2019, along with planners' comments and paying attention to additional signage being removed within 1 week after the parade is finished.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nelson. And then also allowing the use of right-of-way for the signage?
Yes.
Yes.
Second's okay with that?
Yes.
That cover everything, Dan?
Sense.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Good luck.
All right, item B is discussion and necessary action on the request from Gage Christensen, doing business as J.P. Cullen, on behalf of the Hamilton School District Intermediate School for the property located at West 220 North 6151 Town Line Road, tax LSBT 0244.999.004, for a sign permit for 2 monument signs. How you guys doing?
I'm not Gage Christensen. Dan Swanson with J.P. Cullen. Gage couldn't be here tonight.
Can you guys pull the mic just a little closer to you, too? All right.
I'm Jeff Grove. I'm the manager of buildings and grounds for the school district.
How you doing, Jeff? Excellent. Well, I'm trying to figure out our projector here. The battery's dead or what?
It must be on the remote, but
It seems to be working, it's just the computer and the projector aren't communicating.
It's going through a source search.
It's always nice having new stuff.
Yeah, it is.
I got my projector in the car. You want me to go grab it? I brought it.
All right, well, we can continue moving forward if you like. Thank you, Mr. Chair. In front of you tonight is a signage application packet that kind of looks at some new monument signage for one that improved, or the improvements to the middle school operating school. Looking at those signage applications, you can see that they're very similar in nature, very uniform in design. There is an existing monument signage, different on the other drive, I believe, still is there. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. In my memo, I noted that the overall signage is 98 square feet. I wanted to make a differentiation in that, in the fact that that's what that bounding box was. However, by the sign code, we don't measure it by that. We measure it by the usable base of the signage. In essence, the actual, per the sign code definition of signage, is 35 feet. Bring closer. So with that, looking at the two-face sign like that, only one sign counts. And so we are within the limits of the actual sign ordinance. The important point to note, though, is the sign code also does limit one sign per institutional use. So we have 2 schools, obviously on different properties. So we kind of have to have a discussion point about having almost a temporary, or not temporary, but an off-site signage just because of the access point. And so if that was the case, the Plan Commission can kind of have that discussion point, is having that sign adjacent to the existing school, even though it's on the drive to the old school, is that applicable in this situation? And I don't think I have too many concerns about that. It's just a matter of will the Plan Commission kind of allow that, I guess you would call it off-site signage, because it is technically not on that property. So that's one point. And then if you are going to allow for that one, you would have at that point 2 signs for one institution. And so again, probably the existing sign would probably have to be removed at that point to comply with town standards. So I can touch on a little bit more on the details of the signage. I did have a couple kind of comments on that one in my letter. Is the overall location of the signage is generally okay, except for I would say the easterly most sign has to be moved about 6 more feet to the west to keep it 10 feet away from the drive. By my scale, it looked like about 4 feet from the drive location, and so just locating that sign about 6 feet to the west would be about all we would need to comply with that section of the code.
Dan, I know the projector is not happy. We are looking at a map of the new intermediate school. Okay? Very basic then. Where's the sign going to go? There's going to be 2 signs, because obviously Templeton is...
Proposed monument sign.
So if anybody I can stand up and...
Oh, the
like
little
this
red
if you'd
cloud.
like. There's one with the little red cloud.
All right.
If I don't fall and drop my regular computer, we'll see it. So you can kind of see the 2 sign locations. One's got a cloud and one doesn't. So you can kind of see
down
them.
here.
Oh, there, okay.
Okay.
My cloud didn't show up when I...
So there's
took the
one,
PDFs. Yep.
there's one here and one here.
Yep.
I apologize because old eyes didn't see it.
The sign cloud, I think, or the revision cloud was after you guys made the second edition of the sign, and that was a revision. So the Templeton Middle School sign.
Okay. Because obviously Templeton Middle School sits west and northwest of the new structure.
It goes up that drive route that
yeah.
already exists.
Okay.
So those are my only 2 concerns from that standpoint, and I think it's a conversation between the Plan Commission and the applicant.
Well, what's everyone's thoughts? Who wants to go first?
The signs as proposed will obviously be on a very substantial footing, obviously. They're going to be brick. We're talking about black, and they are going to be lit internally with LEDs. Am I correct? All right. And will it be, what am I trying to say here? A movable sign. In other words, almost like a message board that obviously you have the name of the building, the name of the school, the name of the district, and then you could list events.
Correct. Yeah, it's a message board. It's an LED, a 10 millimeter board.
Okay.
Similar to the new LED sign boards. School board and a message board at Bradley Center.
Anywhere, right. And Dan, did these boards meet our sign ordinances per se?
Those are my comments in there, and that's more of a implementation thing versus a standard kind of condition of approval thing. But yeah, as proposed, the only other things I would say would be more implementation, is making sure that the messages are longer than 3 seconds and that the messages aren't flashing, they aren't just distracting, and those are standards that are in the town code. So if it ever came to an enforcement situation, those standards would apply.
Okay, and that was a question I had, and you already answered it. I mean, it's not every day that you have three school buildings within a mile of each other. But, I mean, obviously as the district is growing, it couldn't be avoided. Building's looking nice, by the way. Personally, I have no problem with the signs.
Okay, Chad?
Skip me for a minute here.
Yeah, there's lots of paper.
Yeah, as long as there's no problem with moving that one to comply with the 10 foot from the drive, it's fine.
Gene?
I agree with Mark on the 10 feet from what your comments were. Are we going to, on your item number K, under 6, the scrolling message sign may at the discretion of the FCA be illuminated on a continuous basis? Is that going to affect the neighborhood at all, or do you think that will be out of the way?
Right now, the way that the code reads is it's meant to be, all the illumination is meant to be off at 11 unless the Plan Commission has deemed otherwise. I don't anticipate they would probably have a situation concerned with that one, and they haven't requested that to be an all-night operation at this point, so it would just be an implementation standpoint again.
Okay.
That's going to be in.
It was 11 to 4,
Yeah, absolutely.
I believe. Because realistically, there is no neighborhood.
Well, there's some residents.
Well,
There is the
there's
one resident
There's
and then
one
the
home,
church.
right, that's east of the new building.
And this sign's on the west side,
Yep.
so it's
Yeah.
not. It'll be a long ways away.
425 feet, and the minimum distance for a changeable copy message center is 400 feet. So they
Okay.
comply with the distance requirement.
Not as far as I thought.
Yeah, because there's obviously there's commercial buildings on the other side across from where the school's being built.
Yeah.
And there's a church.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, you have a sign already over in Hamilton. I mean,
Yeah.
that sign works just fine. So, all right. Anything else, Gene?
Nope.
Becky?
No, I don't have anything.
Brian?
Nope, I'm good.
So as far as allowing 2 signs, that's the first thing we got to look at. Anybody have an issue with this?
No, well,
No.
it obviously, somewhat begs a question on our ordinance, and yet, for the obvious reason, they need a sign, because they have 2 different buildings, and it would be just a nightmare for people who are not familiar with the district, or familiar with, oh yeah, there's the intermittent school, and et cetera. They'd be going to the wrong buildings, subs, staff, et cetera, delivery people. So, responsibly, we need a signage on each building or each school.
Anything else, Chad?
Yep, I had a minute to look through things here, so I'm okay with everything. I would like to see it moved over to satisfy the 10 feet compliance, and I'm okay with 2 signs. Yep, thank you.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with it either. Mark? No issue.
Good.
All right. Anyway, nobody has an issue with the 2 signs?
No.
right.
Now, once you had made the comment, one sign, the old sign, are you saying that should come down then?
Yes, because the sign code says 1 sign per institutional use, and even though you'd be having 1 on a separate property, I guess you would say, you'd still have 1 sign per each institutional use, and so I would recommend the removal of that existing one.
Okay.
Good? Okay. I had a feeling.
I had a feeling as well.
Okay. Anything else we got to go over? No. I think it's going to look nice. You guys aren't going to put something that looks cruddy out there. We already know that.
No, they look, based on the drawings,
Yeah, they'll be
they look
nice.
substantial, and also very fitting with the design of the new building. Yeah,
Yeah.
with the flared roof look, yes. So it's not just a box.
All right. Anything else from staff? Anything else from the applicant? Someone want to make a motion on this item?
I will. I would move the request from Gage Christensen, DBA JP Cullen, on behalf of the Hamilton School District Intermediate School for the property located at West 220, North 6151, Town Line Road, with a LSBT of 0244.99.004 for a sign permit for 2 monument signs be approved per town planner recommendations.
Is there a
and
second?
requirements.
Oh, is there a
And
second?
requirements.
I'll second.
Second by Chad Szymanski. Any other discussion?
Do we need to be specific on
On
moving
the
the
10
one?
feet,
Do you want to include that in your motion?
that the 10 feet placement of said sign be placed in as a requirement.
Second is okay with it.
Okay. Is that clear enough?
Is that sufficient?
I think we know what.
Do we have
As
to
stated here
include the
tonight.
comments from the planner?
He did.
I did.
You did.
He did.
I always include Dan and never mind.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks, guys.
got the all clear from
All
Gina.
right.
Everything's working. Item C is discussion necessary action on the request from J.K. Lee Black Belt Academy, Pewaukee LLC, for the property located at North 69 West 25055 Indian Grass Lane, tax key LSBT 0225.999.009. And we have mainly a site plan and plan of operation for a martial arts studio and a sign permit.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before you is I would say, an infill business property on the Indian Grass, one that we see quite a bit, whether or not it's this property or the one across the street. We see these come through. Pretty much important points to note here is you're not going to see a change to the site itself. So no change to grading, no change to parking, no change to screening. All those elements is pretty much an internal to the building. So from that standpoint, the use fits within the general, or that M2 kind of general industrial district as a multi-tenant space. Really the big changes are going to be, I would say, from the previous applicant is going to be the hours of operation, making sure that we clearly define those. Full-time and part-time employees, they have listed that in the application. And then some changes to the signage. And from that standpoint, the signage met the signage code, and so I didn't have any issues with any of the signage. So from that standpoint, I didn't see any other issues of concern. I did have slides up there that showed a little bit more detail, but you have them in your packet as well. So if you have any questions on those, I can touch base on those ones. But my typical conditions of approval are going to be all site plan aspects are maintained. Town of Lisbon retains the right to annually review that site plan. Alterations to building plans must be submitted for review prior to occupancy, and they are going through that process right now, I believe, kind of getting that stuff worked. Brian, the building inspector, shall inspect the premises to ensure any compliance with building codes as they go through their renovations. Fire chief, he'll just inspect upon that same time prior to occupancy. Again, there's standard conditions there. Approval by Waukesha County Environmental Health if that has to be done for any sanitary requirements, and I think they've already discussed that as well. Hours of operations were listed Monday through Saturday, 8:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. We asked the applicant to express their longest range of hours, and so that's what they have put forth. No outdoor storage of materials, and I don't anticipate that to be an issue. All on-site dumpsters shall be stored within any dumpster enclosure areas, another standard for our Indian Grass area. And all additional or future business signage shall be required to attain a signage approval. So if it ever is changed again, let's come back for a signage approval at that time. And then our two standards are the approval is granted to the express conditions stated herein, and then again the town reserves that right to review any of those imposed conditions. And so I can discuss those in greater detail, but those are our standard site plan of operation conditions. Again, this is one of those ones where if it was an internal piece, it would have been probably approved a couple weeks ago, but we had no issues with this one.
Okay. Questions from the board?
Nope.
Add anything?
No. I
Did it.
Are you a black belt?
Come September, fingers crossed. Yes. But
You almost got a star.
I've known the J.K. Lee family for 17 years, and they're a great group. The Pewaukee School's been in the Pewaukee area for 13 years. We just signed a 10-year lease on this property, so we're here for the long haul.
And I'm assuming that in normal per operation, you're going to have obviously instructional classes. So
Correct.
All right. I believe there's adequate parking there, and you have good exposure. It's a good site for Indian Grass because you obviously face 164.
Yes.
You're not back end. So.
And even though those hours of operation are the longest range, the majority, Monday through Friday, is typically 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday goes from morning till mid-afternoon. But we wanted to just make sure we had it covered.
Are you the full-time person?
No, I'm not. I'm actually their agent. Mr.
Okay.
Ginley is the owner and the head instructor. He's teaching tonight, so that's why he's not here. But like I said, I've worked with them for years. They have 6 suburban locations, 1 Milwaukee location that is set up as a nonprofit and offers free martial arts classes to the inner city kids who can't afford to take it. So it's a great organization.
All right. This is 8 part-time, and I assume that'll be instructors also.
Correct.
I've never been inside the building, so I don't know. I assume there's bathrooms in there and changing rooms.
Oh, yes. Very definitely. And they're in a little over 4,000 square feet now where they're at, and they're just kind of outgrowing it. So that's what prompted the move.
Sure.
And plus, a majority of their students are coming from the Sussex area rather than from living in Pewaukee. So this was a great location for them.
So you're closing the Capitol Drive Pewaukee location?
Correct. It's moving.
Gotcha.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
Just one thing, your contractor, I don't know if it's yours or if it's a build-a-suit, doesn't matter, but they did apply for their permit. I just want to remind you that the fire department does need to review plans too, and I can express that to the contractor as well.
Yeah, the landlord hired Sphere Construction,
Okay.
and I think they've done a ton of work out in this area, so we're counting on their expertise, and I'm sure they know what needs to be done.
I'll go directly to them then, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, Paul is project manager. Fred's very familiar with the whole project also.
Okay, just want to make sure you're aware of it as well, you know, in case somebody tells you different.
Oh, I figured everybody's going to come through. So.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
Is anyone ready to make a motion on this item? Item I, we'll take first the site plan of operation.
I would, Mr. Chairman. I would move that the request for J.K. Lee Black Belt Academy, Pewaukee LLC, for the property located at North 69 West 25055 Indian Grass Lane, with an LSBT of 0225.999.009, be approved. For item I, or 1, site plan / plan of operation for a martial arts studio, or also town planners' recommendations. No, I see item 2 is sign permit. That will be a separate item.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Brian. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And on the sign permit.
I'll request that we move and approve the sign permit requested from J.K. Lee Black Belt Academy, Pewaukee LLC, for the property located at North 69 W25055 Indian Grass Lane, LSBT 0225.999.009.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Yeah. Any other discussion on the sign permit? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to Lisbon.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Welcome.
All right. Item D, discussion and necessary action on the request from Richard Pica for the property located at West 235 North 9544 Mount Vernon Drive, tax key LSBT 0150.010, for a conditional use permit for a major grading permit and recommendation to the town board of the same. Did you leave?
Was he here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was.
I guess
Okay.
I wonder if he,
Did he realize that?
or assumed the public hearing was his event, and there's no item objected to it, so maybe it was.
That's
I can run out and check if he's outside.
Huh?
Was it the older gentleman that was in the back?
No, yeah.
He was over here, wasn't he?
Okay.
He was over here.
Over there, and then he moved.
Yeah, let me just.
Yeah.
Can give the Plan Commission an overview on this one, just a clarification point of change. It's a little different from how things may have been done for a grading permit standpoint. Mitch and I actually met and talked and said, you know what, this is probably, major grading permits are more so along the lines of the town engineer. And so at that time, anytime that you see a major grading permit, the review will come from Mitch at this point. That way you're keeping kind of the cards in the right decks, I guess you would say. And so Mitch will be providing a lot of those pieces. And so that's the reason why the memo came from Mitch at this time and Kunkel.
I guess we should have tried to grab him before he left.
Well, we didn't know he was
Can we-
leaving.
Yeah.
Can we call him?
I just texted his wife.
Oh.
I have a feeling she's frantically calling him right now.
Maybe we move on to a...
Yeah.
Should we move
Let's
on
go
to
on
the agenda?
Postpone that item here, not postpone, we'll just move on and come back to it. Item 5, conceptual. Discussion on preliminary certified survey map to divide one lot into two lots for the property located at W248 North 8875 East J Lane, tax key LSBT 0155.996.005.
Sure. So I'll just take this one. If Kevin or Dan has any other comments. This is just a conceptual plan for a CSM. Miss Mary Johnston came to us looking to divide her lot. It's a little over 2 acres. There's a few issues on the property that we wanted to get the Plan Commission's take on how they might want to move forward, or if they want to move forward. The first issue I have listed on the report is there's a pole barn structure that if the applicant were to divide the structure, it would not have a primary dwelling unit on the property. So there's a couple different options that I listed, or any other options that the Plan Commission may want to take if they wanted to move forward. One would be, a contingent approval, I guess you'd say, where you'd approve the CSM, but a new home building permit would have to be provided or have to be applied for within a certain amount of time, 6 months, 12 months, after the CSM is either recorded or, once the property has been sold, something like that. And then there's also, possibly just going through the Board of Appeals process to grant a variance for it. The other issue is there is a road reservation on the northernmost part of the property to a lot to the west of the property that's a little over 6 acres. I believe it's just a farm right now. Nothing's being done with the property. To the north of that property is quarry land, so we weren't sure exactly what the potential was of it being developed or for that road reservation to ever need to come into play. So if that was something that you would want to release that road reservation, we could move forward with that process if that's what the Plan Commission would allow to do. So those are kind of the two issues in regards to the CSM. And then if Kevin or Dan have anything to add.
I do have something to add. As far as, I didn't spend too much time on this because I didn't know where the Plan Commission wanted to go. Road reservations and dedications have certain processes, and it depends on what you guys want to do.
Sure.
I will note that the statute that was cited in the memo applies to recorded deeds, land contracts, or mortgages of lands abutting on an existing street, yada yada yada. This road reservation was recorded via CSM, so that actually the CSMs have a different statute, section 236. So I didn't go into looking at the process for relinquishing a road reservation there because again I didn't know what the Plan Commission was looking at doing.
Mm-hmm.
So there may be another process for doing that. And in fact, this road reservation may have actually been accepted once the CSM was approved by the town. So again, those are all things to consider, but it still depends on what the town is looking at doing, if it's even considering relinquishing that road reservation. And I think it's also important for the Plan Commission to look at it. I didn't see any sort of global pictures, but we should really be getting a topographic view of what is around.
That's why I'm glad you brought the map.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't see.
Yeah, we're right here, and the reason why that road reservation is there is, if you go back to the old minutes, that reservation was in case somebody wanted to come in and develop this piece of property here. So in other words, there's a road reservation right here that's causing for this A5 piece of land. So it's up to the Plan Commission to determine, is that road reservation kind of valid to this point? So that's where we kind of sit at this point. I'm going to go grab the comp plan map so you can show what that looks like as well. As you can tell, that road reservation's been there since the mid-90s, and nothing's happened to it at this time. So, the Plan Commission wished to kind of have that discussion point of should that reservation be maintained.
I mean, is that something we probably should have brought up with the landowner, essentially?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a different owner on the property to the west that this reservation would be supplying an access point to.
Right.
What do they think? I mean, did they ask for that access to be maintained in the first
No.
place, or how did we get this reservation?
I think, so, the CSM was actually recorded by the people who are asking for it to be vacated.
The 2004, or the 2005 one was, the previous one, I think, before them was not.
Okay.
The 1999 CSM did show the reservation.
Yeah, it showed the
So-
reservation, but it was by a previous owner.
At that point, the town probably required it because there was the potential that property back there was going to be
Is
developed.
that landlocked? Is that, or is there a?
It does have its own, it has its frontage, it has frontage on that road, so, but it's whether or not they would have to
On
construct
North
their own
Lisbon?
road if they wanted to build it, or should it be providing access off of an existing road. So here's the frontage that they have, that existing other parcel.
So if we get rid of the.
But there's buildings on the south end of that parcel, correct?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's
So if
a
they
lot
would-
of them.
If they wanted to, construct their own, or develop a subdivision, more or less, they would have to do that.
So they have to get rid of the houses or something.
Something. Right now, the access is in that road reservation. And we didn't want to spend a lot of time on it because the applicant themselves doesn't want to go through the process of
Oh, yeah.
preparing a CSM to do that if the town had a direction one way or the other. So I think they were looking for a little bit of guidance before they went through it, and we were looking for a little bit of guidance before we started putting our time towards that applicant, so.
And I think the big question is who the landowner is,
This is the lot here.
where that access would go.
That land parcel is landlocked there. We don't, if we take that
If
away.
we take that, right, exactly. It's
Because
not-
of
it'll
buildings.
never be developed.
Yeah.
We can't, that
It's got
can't.
buildings
can't.
This
already.
is the.
Can't.
This is the.
Well, it's just an open field when
This
it's right
house here
behind this
wants
house
to
here.
divide,
Yeah.
divide it
There's no
here.
access.
And
You
the,
And the
can't
reservation
make-
is up here.
Yeah, no, they have a pool.
And if they divide it here, then that leaves this.
but the house,
This is a shed with no primary.
they'd have to
structure.
tear a house
That's
down.
not legal either.
Yeah, no.
Because they're all the same owner. The people who own the house do own the 5 acres in the back, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. At least from what I saw on the Waukesha's.
But if they want to develop the back part and split off their front
No,
part,
big-
then they'd be
big piece is
landlocked.
one big
They wouldn't,
owner.
they wouldn't be able to.
Right.
Yeah, the one that fits
Did
access.
anybody, do we know what their position is on this, or?
We're looking for direction. Either we go discuss with them. We didn't want to do that without some direction of the Plan Commission. We didn't want to kind of bring that up without having some direction.
Do they have plans of selling this second parcel to a family member?
A friend,
Or
yes, a personal friend who would be purchasing and building on that property, on the back of it, and then they would be selling, obviously, that pole barn as well.
To the new homeowner.
To the new homeowner, yes. And then, because of their friends, however two private property owners want to help each other out, she said that she was going to let her store stuff in that one too, and again, that's between two private property owners. That's a
That's
side.
not our
Yeah,
problem.
No,
that's not
not
our
the
concern.
problem.
No.
But if this road right away doesn't go away, that pretty much
Then,
kills it.
Kill
yeah,
it.
if the road reservation stays, the site cannot meet the minimum site requirements.
So who requested this road
Reservation.
reservation?
Well, it was in
I think it was in those minutes.
it's in the minutes.
Yeah, it's in the minutes.
Does it go back to that 1999?
Yes.
Correct. I think when this
1999.
whole
Yeah.
larger parcel was being developed, the road reservation was put in.
It was
And then-
June 4th of 1999, is that the piece of paper from one Mr. Martin, who was the secretary at the time?
Dick Martin.
There's a good picture. This is,
Mm-hmm.
this is what he wants to cut.
It doesn't say very
It's
much.
way up here, at the very top. This parcel, this yellow line is all around that.
Yeah, because if you leave the road right away, the house has to be 50 feet off this one, and 50 feet off this
This
one.
person didn't request it.
And you'd
The
be.
town probably
Yes, that's
requested it, I'm guessing at the request of this owner who has this big field back here, they might want to develop. Or
Mhm.
do the same thing,
But we can't go
put a
ask them
friend or a
for
relative.
direction.
So it all hinges on the road
There's
right
no way
away.
to get there.
Yep.
The reservation.
And that's what the applicant is requesting, some clarification on. Should we
Since it's there,
start
I don't-
investigating that to greater detail?
Yeah,
if-
this is gonna depend on that road reservation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they weren't going to
Quite
go through the
strongly.
process of doing a CSM if it had no chance to get through that point.
Right.
Why spend,
And just for clarification, the road reservation is for access for said parcel that's not on our map.
It's next door.
Correct?
No, it's
Next door.
next door.
Tax site?
Yeah.
It's right next door, but
Yeah.
it would
It was.
give,
I'm not
it's
right now.
allowing
It is one piece.
access in the future.
This
when
one is
this
all
was-
one. The whole
So if we
thing.
take that away,
This residence.
It's
the
landlocked.
whole thing.
property.
It's all one tax key right now.
Yeah.
But it could be split.
okay.
Yeah, well, but it can't be without this,
Right.
unless you're gonna run them
Sticky
right through your
wickets.
backyard.
I think, somebody's gonna have to talk to the western landowner.
Yeah, I think
Because
it depends
Yeah,
on
that
them.
wouldn't be-
I mean, I
wouldn't
wouldn't
be-
be surprised if they asked for that reservation at some point.
Yeah.
And if it's the same owner that was there then or not, they may not even know about it, but
Yeah.
they have, it grants them a right.
Right.
Yes.
Well,
You know,
I think
we
the
can't just-
value of their property is greatly diminished if that goes away all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
agree. At least resale, development value.
And to be developed, either the town or that neighboring property owner would probably have to pay for that property. It is reserved, but it hasn't been dedicated, and that the existing property owner would probably see no reason to dedicate it because they wouldn't be doing a CSM or anything. So if it was to be improved, that acquisition of that piece would have to be either done through that private property owner or through the town for that 66-foot strip.
I mean, if they don't, if the person that lives to the west, they're the Smiths, I think it is, if they don't care about it, then I don't care about it. I mean, we can divide their thing there, and if they've got somebody and they can assure us that they'll pull a permit and build a house within a year, fine. I mean, then everything comes back into compliance, but I think if we go ahead and take that reservation away from that affects the value of that guy's property.
I was just going to say
quite a
that the
bit.
saleability goes down to zero.
I agree with Mark 100%.
I'm verbatim with Mark.
Yeah.
All right, so
To all, we need to find out about the road reservation and then
Follow up with the property
move
owner.
forward from
Yeah.
there.
okay. Just used to looking at you.
Yeah. Well, they haven't submitted a reimbursement form because they didn't do an application. This is a conceptual discussion, so Dan will be taking this one on until such time as the application comes in.
You got direction, Dan.
All right, thank you.
Everybody's good there?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
You can do it, Dan.
You can do
Thanks,
it.
everybody. Thank you.
I'll also assist.
Sounds like a phone call. Many phone calls.
Kevin, can you send me that?
You know what I've realized is we've had so many good-sized lots in the town. And now all of a
So
sudden
is
people
this
are
gentleman
trying to
coming
do
back,
smaller
It's in the Wisconsin plating manual. It's 470 pages. You can download
and
that.
sell it.
Do we need it?
It's gonna
I
cost.
found it a couple weeks ago.
Really?
Just tell them to go ahead.
Recess.
I only have one question.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to table? Or are you going to
Hold on
call?
a second here.
You can table it.
I'm using my phone a friend.
Oh, you know these.
I know.
Oh,
Linda.
that's good.
Linda Lifeline. Hey, Linda, it's Joe. Hey, your husband has gone missing, and we're on your we're on your agenda item right now. Is he home or? Okay. Because we have some questions, and he's not here. No, he came, but he left. I don't think he realized that he had another section that he had to wait for. So we've been kind of skipping over a few things here, but we're running out of things to skip over.
Not too many people have
All right. We'll delay as long as we can. All right. That boy's in trouble.
Glad you don't have my wife's phone number.
Oh, my. Can we do site inspection?
Yeah, we can move on to the next. On the site inspections, then we'll do 6A and assign annual inspection and plans of operation and conditional use business establishments. I know everybody's very excited about this.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got mine done.
All right. You want to start out, Jim?
Okay, fine. Dan, here's a card from Genesee Agate from John Gotka. He kind of helps run things. He and Heidi, I met with both of them.
Actually, this is, you got the quarries.
I've got the quarries, yes.
This is the annual site inspections we're talking about for businesses assigning them?
Oh.
That's what this was
Well,
intended for, I'm
That's
assuming?
what you're going to do? Okay.
Yes.
Do we have the Corey ones even on
For
here?
conditional use.
That was on
Yep.
last month. You assigned
We can
them.
report on that, right? We don't have anything to report on the Corey.
A few of them turned
Yes,
their
I've got
inspections
Corey's
in.
Right here.
Jane, it's not agendized that way.
We'll put it on the next one to let, there's a few others that have
That's
to do
what
an
I'm saying.
inspection. So.
Okay.
So we'll
This is
put it on the
agendized
next-
to assign the annual inspection.
Okay.
What business are we gonna hit, so we'll have to hit that one.
Another time. Okay,
Yep.
take this back home.
What is a conditional use business, but it doesn't say report, yeah. All right, so this is, we have historically picked a few businesses and gone and checked up on them and make sure they're following their conditional uses. I guess we've talked about this in the past, we're probably one of the few communities that just randomly picks them, but it sounded like the board wanted to continue doing that at the last time we spoke. Is that still the indication from the board? Jane says yes.
Well,
Is
I
that a
think
yes, right?
What's the other option?
there's some people that you have to,
Complaint
because
based.
he keeps, and one of them is over on Duplainville Road, because he has been known to put people into his building and not notify us that he has done so. So once in a while, we have to keep track on him. But the other one I was going to ask about was the, where is that? Gets us Gordon. We've got here that shooting range. What's happened with that next to the farm
Across from Fridays?
Stopel development? Because he's got a black powder shooting range. Has that been discussed with him, with Mr. Zelmer, or what's the status?
Well, depends on what Mr. Zelmer, I believe Mr. Zelmer's selling it to his son. And he can either potentially give up that right, or the Plan Commission can review potentially that conditional use permit, because that development's going on.
Well, I believe that was a part of it, was stated that it would be, if the property to the west would be developed, then it would be re-looked at, because I don't think they have been, because I don't believe he used it or did any shooting last year at all, because normally I hear it, so.
When he came, the gentleman who was buying the property came and talked about that, touched on it when he was here during that development process. So he's aware of it.
Yeah.
But again, if it's with the sale or with, I look at it as a discussion.
Okay.
How many businesses do we want to hit?
Well, I want to ask a couple questions and get opinions here. Have we gotten any complaints this year, and anybody in particular?
I haven't received anything.
Okay, does anybody on the commission here have any concerns about anybody in the town?
One. but
Okay.
Out of all these, I have concerns about one.
Okay, all right. Would you like to go there, or would you like someone else to go there?
I mean, if we're gonna do them, we should not
Yeah.
just single one
Well,
person out. That's the only thing.
I guess what I'm getting at is if there's no problems, why are we just randomly visiting these? I understand why, but is it necessary is my question. That's
Well,
where
that's
I stand.
that's the thing. We are not a lot of communities do it that way. We have. I mean, every year I've been in the town, we have done these.
Right.
It has been historic. It's a matter of if
And I
the
don't,
commission wants to keep doing them or not. And I ask that
I don't
every
care
year.
one way or another, but
Right.
Well, I think it keeps the people on their toes. They know that they could potentially have a visit.
Right.
And I don't think it hurts to. Plus, I think it gives the planning commission members the ability to see what is really working in the town and what the businesses are and how they operate.
I would make a point that I at some point in the future, will be going out with Sandy to look at the Laddish property as one of the conditions of approval, which is to actually look at within that first year of operation, looking at to make sure they are complying with that one. So that was that's a separate condition of we reserve the right. This was we will go out and
Which
see
one is
that? That was that green waste recycling, the Laddish former Voss property.
Okay.
That
Yes.
we went through
Yep.
last year.
Mhm.
So I will be scheduling an appointment probably with Sandy at that one to go out and kind of tour that one from the town's perspective as well as from Waukesha County.
Okay.
So that's just a side note that was a condition of approval and Sandy has requested that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not biased one way or another. I just wanted everybody's opinion on it. Yeah.
You can see
Looks
both sides of
like-
the story.
Looks like last year they only went to 4 places.
Yeah, it's a matter of, I think we'd ask if
I
people want to
took-
do it, go in their couple and
I took
one.
care of Bedford Drive last year, almost every business on there.
Yeah.
Last year?
That's,
Or-
that.
Well, maybe it was.
No, it was in
2000
2017.
Oh, you're right, 17, seems like last year. Seems like
I
yesterday.
don't remember that
Yeah.
we did any last year.
It's so much fun.
For the heck of it, though, the one that I've always, is the Sherwood Forest Bowman's Club. It was last done in 2015.
Well, Chad did this one year, didn't you?
I think it was 2015 already.
Yeah,
Was that
2017.
I did it one year, and then you did it after me. I remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I thought you did it last year.
I'm just, I know it's right near Osblick, et cetera, but I wouldn't, to Chad's point, to Jane's point, I'm curious about what some of these places are. Just so I wouldn't mind going there, but does the commission object to that?
I mean, if you're going to check out the conditional use, you're doing it on an official capacity.
Oh, yes.
If
I'm
you're
not
to
going there just
visit it. You can do that anytime you want. You
I
can join. I've got phone numbers.
I won't put an apple on my head and say.
So you want to go check some out or don't want to check some out, Ed? I mean,
I do.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yes, no, I shouldn't make love.
Chad, you sound like you're kind of not really needed. Mark.
I guess if we've had issues in the past with somebody not letting us, not reporting business changes or something like that, would be a reason
he's
to
back.
go and see that.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were done with me.
That would be a reason
Not
to go
yet.
and see that business, but I think the rest of it's really of marginal, if any, value, these random visits.
Jane, I'm getting a solid yes that you want to go visit some. Correct?
I will do what the board wants to do, but I think it doesn't hurt to scoot around and it also gives, I feel, board members a good idea of what's really going on in the town.
Sure.
But that's just my feeling.
Becky?
I don't have an opinion one way or the other.
All right.
Which leaves us all the tree.
Brian?
I don't know, unless you have some complaints or suspicions, but then you're singling people out, I get it. But otherwise, we don't get any complaints.
Can we single people out of this? Is this an issue? I mean, if we think there's a problem, we can just go do it?
No,
or-
that's
Well, if you
all
think-
right.
If there's
I just don't want to go to the same place every year. And
If they're not being
No.
compliant,
if there's a reason to go, if you
Yeah.
find out that they're not being compliant, you have the ability to review them.
What's our problem, children? Which one is, I mean, we've been naming one. Which one is it?
Well, the one I'm concerned about is the Rush residents.
Okay.
Because they still have a permit outstanding for upstairs, and I did do the final inspection for downstairs, but
You want to check that one out?
I wouldn't mind checking that
Okay.
out.
Brian's on the Rush residence.
I'm kind of
Okay,
waiting
it
for
says
the
in-law unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's okay. You want to go to Sherwood Forest?
I will go to Sherwood Forest.
All Ed's going to Sherwood Forest.
I'll go to Sherwood Forest,
All
and
right.
if I never come back.
Chad, do you want to go anywhere?
Sherwood Forest.
He wants to get.
unless there's a problem
They have
somewhere.
that.
I mean,
Anywhere you want to go check out?
Rush, they have
Jane,
that
anywhere you want to go
Unless
check
want,
out?
or we need some.
Yeah, if you need me to, I will.
They're still working on the
Oh.
upstairs, but I'm not sure.
No.
I can't think of any. I mean, I guess I do with the one here, but
Um,
Why can't I find it? I saw it before.
well,
is there a few you want to check out?
James,
I think I emailed it to him after.
existence. 3 years is a long time.
Yeah.
well, it just,
DOA.
I'll come back to you. Becky, is there
Yeah.
anything you want to go check out?
Nope.
Jane, is there anything you want to go check out?
oh dear, oh dear.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, to Jane's point,
Yeah.
as a community, I think, in the short time I could say that I've been on the Planning Commission, I think we're blessed with business stability in our community. In other words, we don't usually see, we have 2 major industrial parks. We don't see a lot of high turnover. But with the number of subdivisions we're adding, and with the growth I see coming as 164 gets reopened, down the road in the next decade, we're definitely going to see increased population pressures in this community. And I can anticipate a higher churn or turnover rate of our businesses, as you might see, in a more urbanized community. So I think it's important to try and stay on top of it, not every minute, but just as a matter of protocol as we have established in the past.
Sure.
So that's what I'm thinking on that. And honestly, if the board considers, like, for example, me going to Sherwood Forest is a waste of time.
And if you want to go check it out and just check to make sure they're following the conditional use permit, that's no
Okay.
problem here.
Fine.
I mean, it's
Then I will do
if there's
something.
if there's a few more you want to go look at. I mean, I think we all could go to Shooter's Pub and Grill tonight and check them out.
Jill.
Okay.
No, I mean it's.
Yeah.
I'm more of a complaint-based guy, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know,
I
and
do
it's-
have,
It's not a perfect system by any means, by any means, but
I have questions on 2 of them here now that I look through the list a little bit more. One would be that big city limousine in the corner there.
okay.
Does anybody else feel like he might be doing more than just renting out limousines or out of there? I know he's doing detailing of vehicles. I don't know if that's on his plan of operation or not. We can look into that.
Is that the one on Town Line Road?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big
Is that one?
city
Is this one
limousine.
you want to go check
I
out,
know he's
Chad?
got a big sign out there.
Big cities, yeah.
Sure.
He's on
Chad's
Lisbon
on.
Road.
Chad's on Bid City
Town line.
Limousine.
Okay.
What's the other one?
But I would
Broadway's.
request a copy of his.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What
My
other
other
City limousine.
question, just out of curiosity, Brian, you would know this. Did that Warrior Warehouse ever go through on Indian Grass Lane?
Yeah, they just got occupancy. There's a few things they have to take care of for firewall protection with the fire inspector.
Yep.
So they do have a temporary occupancy, which that was the only issue with them. But yes, answer your questions. Yep, they're in there.
Okay.
We're looking at site plans now, see if that one was just a site.
Well, yeah.
It's all, I think they're just getting by.
Right. Any other ones?
No.
All right. So Chad's going to go check out Big C Limousine.
Big city.
Brian's going to check out the Rush property. Ed's going to check out Sherwood Forest. Jane, did you come up with one you'd like to go look at?
I thought you were going to Shooter's Pub and Grill.
We'll see. It's a possibility.
Oh, I don't know. Polo stables, etc. I'll go to the Polo stables. We haven't been there for a while.
Okay.
Iron Horse. Polo stables.
All right.
I'll go there.
Anyone else want to check any other ones out?
Iron Horse Polo
Iron
stables.
Horse.
Up on,
Where is that?
up on
North Lisbon Road?
North Lisbon Road. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Where all the horses are. They got tons of horses in there.
All right.
Oh, I know where you are.
That'll do it then? Everybody's good with those? All right, that's set. All right. Move back to item D then again, which is discussion necessary action on the request from Richard Pica for the property located at West 235 N 9544 Mount Vernon Drive, tax key LSBT 0150.010 for a conditional use permit for a major grading permit and recommendation of the town board of the same. How you doing?
Very good.
And good. And you are?
I thought I'm sorry I thought you were done with me.
Sure.
Well, now, we're not going to ride you too hard because you'll have to deal with your wife when you get home.
Yeah.
That's not funny.
No, it's not.
Could you state your name and address for the...
Hey, my name is Richard Pica. I'm West 235, North 9544, Mount Vernon Avenue, Colgate, Wisconsin, 53016.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'll kind of let the applicant walk through concerns that you may have. But the application has been for major grading. In your packet, you saw the example, kind of where the grading operations would be had, where there's some example utilities and where there's some landscaping already inside. And then also where the extent of the grading would be. Mitch is unable to be here tonight or representative from Council. So inside of your packet there, primarily I would say the issues of concern outside of, I guess you would say, grading concerns that you may have would be more along the lines of process and technical concerns. So because there is a greater than potential 1 acre of land to be disturbed, a RAP permit would have to be obtained from WDNR and provide the town a copy of that RAP permit. You're all going to be doing, prior to any of that grading, would be installation of the tracking pad in accordance with the WDNR technical standards, construction of a silt fence, and again in accordance with those WDNR technical control practices. Prior to the construction installation of sediment barriers opposite those drives, the culverts to ensure that the sediment does not carry to the west and to the north. And then finally, upon the completion of the ditch grading and berm construction that is adjacent to the road, install erosion control mats accordingly, so that you can repair and reestablish that seed that would have been there. So outside of, I guess you'd say, the technical concerns, the Plan Commission may have some, I would say, more or less along the lines of more general questions for the applicant. But as long as the applicant would be providing and complying with those DNR standards and providing the town with documentation of that sort, which I did not see any additional concerns or questions.
Okay. What is the reason you want to do this?
The reason is my lot is a lower area, and this time of year with all the rain and the melting of the snow and stuff, I have some surface water there, and I cannot cut my lawn until probably the end of this month. And I'm cutting my grass just like everybody else, but I'd like to raise it up and establish a ditch to where if there is any drainage, it goes to the ditch, and then like on the map, you can see where there's culverts. It runs east and west and north and south, and it would go into the already established ditch that was there. It's just like a little bit of a swale in the north-west corner of the property, and so if I just raise that up, everything will just drain properly into the existing ditches.
Okay. Questions from the board?
If this was to be done, Mr. Pica, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Does it affect any of your neighbors? I'm not looking at the map.
Yeah, no,
I mean, you're not, because the usual problem we have is water dispersion, just placing it somewhere else.
Right. No, it does not. If you do look at the topographical map, all my neighbors are all higher than me.
Okay.
And so there would be no water running onto their property, off mine onto theirs. In fact, my area is almost like in a bowl.
Mm-hmm.
All the properties are higher than mine, and that would be with County Highway Q, and with Mount Vernon Drive. I'm kind of like in a bowl there. So if I just bring mine up to where the drainage would go into the ditch, without running into anybody else's.
And he just put in a detached garage,
Yep.
and I've been out to the property, obviously, and inspected, but it's almost like the entire subdivision comes along, his house is here. You actually raised your driveway for your garage and raised your garage a little bit so that to compensate. It's almost like they just stopped grading at the garage area and everything just drops down. You can see it from Q. Next time you're out heading on Q, it's pretty obvious. And so, I don't know, does that explain it properly?
It does, and that pretty much touches on it, that I know the house was built 30 years ago, and I know codes have gotten a lot more stricter because of things like this, but the lot was never properly graded away from the home. I mean, when I purchased a property, you could literally see the corner of the garage slab, and they never filled up to it. They never graded up to it, and I don't know, like I said, I've never built a house before, so I don't know if that was the responsibility of the actual builder, or if it was that the person who bought the property just graded as much as they could afford and left it. I don't know what the situation was, but it is not properly graded,
Yeah, you do have a lot of water collecting, more towards Q than anywhere else, but everything goes down that way, so I don't know if that helps you out, Ed. It's
Well, it sounds like the home or the site was built in like possibly a modified or natural kettle, or just a depression, and that's always going to be a problem because your water can't. So in essence, what you want to do is take your water away from your home.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, and Brian, so you raised your driveway. You put in a new garage.
Yeah.
Detached
garage.
Yeah, he has a driveway to his detached garage.
Okay.
And that actually was raised up a little bit more. You can tell you compensated because you were hoping to fill.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the fill was also to be around this new garage, I assume?
No.
No?
No, I don't know, the house is here, the garage is here, from the garage to Highway Q.
Okay.
Because at the garage, it's almost like they just stopped grading.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I've been on Q a million times like all of us, but I can't visualize the property right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
I see you have a picture.
It's in your application packet. If you see the map, take a look at the map, and the areas identified in yellow would be general grading to a certain point. And you can also see the outline of where the berm would be as well.
I think the biggest thing that obviously it has to meet code where it can't distribute the water on someone else's property. You know, if you're not affecting them, and nobody was here for the public hearing tonight, all the notices were sent out and everybody seems okay there, so I take that as a non-objection.
Right.
The DNR is involved, obviously, so
Nobody over here.
good luck.
Unplanted land. There's nobody over here. It's not going to run across the road. It's not going to run across Q. There's nobody. There's nobody next to you anyway.
The water is eventually meant to be directed towards an actual drainage facility, which would be the ditches. And it's just a matter of keep getting it to the ditches, which should have been the case most likely, versus keeping it on site without an actual proper drainage facility.
And now that I'm looking at a map, I apologize. Yes, I know, and yes, the northern part of your property is proverbially wet, or at least who knows how much water, but you can see it easily from Q. So.
Are you the first house south of Q?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm right on the corner. I'm first house on the left of Q and Mount Vernon Drive.
Yep.
Okay. Yes. All right.
Yeah.
I know exactly where you're talking.
Yeah.
There are
Like
wetland.
I said, in another month, I'm cutting my grass just like everybody else. It's not like there's a natural spring down there, or it's constantly wet all year round. It's just at this time of year, the water just seeps down there, and it's a low spot, and it collects there, and then it evaporates. And,
Well, it has the Mount Vernon Drive and Q. It's just a natural. It's like a natural berm, and the water has no place to go. Right. Possibly your mesic soil's clay, and it's saturated because we had a wet winter, and the water's just sitting, which would make sense. Right.
Okay.
Did Kunkel look at this for water management, or just for how to move the dirt, or what? I read their letter, but it doesn't say anything in there about where this water is coming from or going to, or where it will be going to after he finishes grading, or if there's any impact on any neighbors. I mean, if that water doesn't sit where it's sitting and infiltrate down, it's going to go on somebody's property somewhere.
Is it the DNR's end of it, I'm wondering?
I don't know.
Because it's going to the drainage swale that is adjacent to where it was supposed to be going. I'm thinking that may have been where Mitch was coming into.
Is that gonna go to the east then?
I have to pull my contours up here again. I have to orient myself here. Get to the culvert, we're at 75, working our way.
Or is it gonna go north?
It works its way to the north, and then once it gets to the drainage swale, then it disperses down the drainage swale.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can see in the air photo, there's a dark.
So it's not pushing it back into the subdivision?
No.
So it's going north underneath Q.
Yeah.
Going towards the Park River.
Yeah, if you look at, I believe Mitch has provided a kind of a larger map labeled surface water data viewer. You can see a little bit more of the context there.
Yep.
And there's wetlands across that way. It shows that there's wetland indicators potentially on the site, and as it goes through the DNR process, that'll be addressed from that standpoint. But yes, it's working its way to that low spot.
Okay.
Does that address what you're looking at, Mark? Or?
After
This kind of goes back to some Plan Commission meetings a long time ago when we started asking for engineers to look at this stuff, because we started engineering at this table and ended up with some bad water problems down the road, and I feel like that's kind of where we're at here. Or this might be fairly simple, or at least it certainly appears to be fairly simple on the surface, but we've been real successful having an engineer look at this stuff for us before we make these decisions, and turns out that somebody comes back to us from the north side of Q there and go, hey, we got this water dumping on our property now here, and or this drainage ditch can't handle this amount of water, or who knows? I don't know, and I guess I'm just a little bit leery of becoming a water engineer at these meetings.
Well, I mean,
Well, I think Mitch is the engineer. He has reviewed the.
So if Kunkel's telling us that this is okay for management of water, then that's fine, but I did not read that anywhere in this packet. I read, do it this order and it'll work out the way you say. That's what I read.
Right, I mean, it's saying that he's...
Did you see this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Read
I mean, what you're looking at is here when he says conditionally approved based on the following contingencies. You're looking at this, you look at it from a water standpoint of major grading, but I mean, the major grading would be... I mean, the major thing for major grading is water.
Yeah.
So, but it's just taking, you're looking at it saying, yeah, I assume that's what it was. Is what
I mean, he didn't.
Doesn't just say
Because
water.
it doesn't say anywhere in there that he looked at water management at all.
So you're looking for more, from either this letter or future letters, more of a watershed perspective.
Yeah, I mean, this water's going someplace. If it doesn't sit in his lot and infiltrate, it's going somewhere. And I didn't read anything in there where they told us that the surrounding systems can handle this water coming through there. I don't know. I'm not trying to throw a stick in the works, and I'm not trying to stop you from drying out your yard. I totally get it, but I also feel like we've been real successful having people look at water. And if that letter does that, I'm good with it. If that's the point of the letter and I'm just not reading it.
We could conditionally approve it and have staff look at make sure that this is addressed.
Totally good with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Point well taken, Mark.
With
Obviously, water's going to go somewhere.
Stormwater calculation.
Yeah.
I think
Jane?
No, I agree with that, because it's just, I had a couple of things underlined in here, because I was concerned about the same thing you were, Mark.
I'm presently working with Alan Barrows of Waukesha County Land and Parks Use. I don't know if the board, I sent Dan an email that he had sent to me, kind of going over the things that we have discussed. I don't know if this town board is aware of this, but Waukesha County is the only county in the state of Wisconsin that has been granted rights by Wisconsin to establish its own, they call it stormwater permit, which is the equivalent to the DNR WRAPP. And I've been working with him. I just had him out to the property 2 days ago, and he's looking at it too. And I asked this question: why didn't Conkle Engineering contact him instead of sending me to the DNR and going to the main DNR website? And he says, well, Waukesha County is kind of like patchwork. Some villages and some towns don't require grading permits, like town of Lisbon requires grading permit. If you don't require grading permit, you don't even have to go to the DNR. But because you do, then that is why now I have to go to the DNR, and they have to get involved. And yeah, it's all calculated with soil content, watersheds, of all that nature. So he's presently involved in that right now. If maybe the board would like to consult him, but he came out to the property and said, I don't see a problem here at all. He said there's no red flags or anything. Now, along with that, there is also a retainer that is required by the town of Waukesha now, which is not required by the DNR, which says that I have to comply and complete the project. This is more like an incentive or a retainer that I just don't start the project and don't finish it. So
We're not so much worried about that. So
Right.
if the last two Plan Commission meetings, actually 3 or 4 maybe, is water.
Mhm.
Water is the issue. That's the biggest concern. It's water. And that's what we want to look at here. We don't want to create, solve your problem by creating 2 more.
Correct.
Or 1 more. So, and that's what Mark, I don't want to talk for Mark here, but I mean, he's looking at this going, it doesn't say that this is specifically say this checks out on the water end.
Yeah.
There's no check mark here that says that. We just want to make sure. So if we would do this, we'd do it conditionally upon Conco approving this for those standards. So, Becky?
No, I think I would go along with that if we just put a condition that Mitch approved it.
Okay.
I'm okay with that condition as well.
All right. Anything else from you, Kevin?
Nope, and that's fine.
All right. Anything else you want to add? Does anybody wish to make a motion on this item? Sure. Okay.
I'll move approval for the request from Richard Pica for the property located at West 235 North 9544 Mount Vernon Drive, Lisbon Tax Key 0150.010 for a conditional use permit for major grading permit and recommendation to the town board of the same pursuant to compliance with the planner's comments as well as confirmation from Kunkel Engineering and the Waukesha County Department of Parks and Land Use that the water management is appropriate.
Okay, is there a second? I'll second. Second by Chad. Any other questions, comments?
I would only make a correction on that one, town engineer comments, not town planner comments, because I didn't provide any. So just a clarification in the minutes.
Second. Have a motion okay with that? In a second? Yep. All right, excellent. All right. Any other comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right.
you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sorry you had to.
I'm sorry, I didn't misunderstood.
One is just a public hearing to see if there's any, because people were notified of your request, and if there were any comments from any of your neighbors or whatever. And then it comes back to the meeting.
Good luck when you get home.
Yeah.
I understand now. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Item 6B is overview of April and May planner appointments.
Thank you. Now you can go.
Yeah, you're free to go.
All good. You're good now.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a few planners appointments over the past month. 2 of them you actually saw tonight, which was the J Lane CSM conceptual discussion, as well as the Hamilton's kind of school district signage. Other ones that have come in at the time would have been a request for information on the 164 development, Newman's, I guess you say Newman Development's old property that they were looking at across from 164. The applicants and representatives for the landowners kind of came in and said, what can we do on this property? And so they're currently investigating some future thought processes that they're going through right now. Nothing concrete at this time. I think they're waiting for some additional information from the town at this time. Other ones that have kind of come in, potentially a CSM on Howard Pass, but that one again is kind of out a few months here potentially.
Where's
The only
that
one,
located? I'm sorry.
we had that one
That's
on
making a lot of paper noise over here.
I'm sorry.
Howard Pass. It was N74W27324 Howard Pass CSM is what we have listed on here. So just a small CSM. I think that was a odd one that we're just not sure if it's going to come forward. It's kind of a landlocked parcel with a bunch of easements through it, and so we're just not sure if that one's going to move forward. But what you may see next month, actually what you will see next month is last month we went through that site plan of operation approval for John Then and his storage units. He has found a operator for his facility to the south now. And so we have an application packet that came in, wasn't able to meet the deadline for this meeting, but we do have an application packet in for site plan of operation for a new operator to go into that facility to the south. So that is the only one that I currently see on our agenda at this time. Not saying that other things may pop in over the next week, but we may have a shorter agenda come next month.
Can I ask a question about a previous agenda item right now, or no?
I guess I don't know.
If we discussed it during a planner appointment at some point, I suppose so.
The hillside development, because of the sewer requirements, are they still moving forward with that, or where are they at?
The town is still currently investigating.
So it's on hold right now?
We're working on
Yeah.
that one.
Okay.
Because it's going to be on the board agenda on Monday night.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Just curious
there's-
on that one.
There's questions there, so.
Thank you.
And in that light, may I ask, is there any word on, I was asked by some individuals in the last 2 weeks with Casey's on Town Line Road in Silver Spring. Are they still?
Yep. Yeah, they're coming in. They requested a small deviation. I believe we may be looking at that one. It's one of those things where they are moving the underground storage tanks on their site plan, and so they have to come back through here for literally moving because their site plan is being tweaked a little bit. So they're having to come back here for that, unless this board would.
Does it affect anything directly with code or anything?
No, we discussed it with Sussex. They're not going to require it to be re-reviewed again. They're literally moving it from where it was next to the building before, kind of more or less in the drive aisles or in the kind of main concrete area. So
Nothing visually or?
No, nothing's changing on the ground pretty much.
Okay.
So it's unfortunate that we potentially have to bring them back here for that, unless this Plan Commission would be okay with us doing a internal review to that.
Motion on that?
No.
I'm just asking.
I know, it's one of those things where, because it is a site plan change, it has to come back here.
Bringing that young lady back for the 19th time.
Yeah. They can continue to move forward with their site plan as is now and kind of make that change if they go,
Through the process.
through that process. But
So it wouldn't hold them up?
That's not, I wouldn't say holding them up per se at this point. They're still going through their plans with Brian, I believe, and a couple other utility stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
No, it's still in the works.
Any questions? No. I'll do it. All right. So item 7 is adjournment.
So move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are out at 8:07.
Yay.